What age level you guys are at currently? Seems like we have a pretty wide range.
Let's start on that side. What grade?
Grade again. Name and grade, please. Alina, second grade. Second grade. Hi. Okay. Yeah. Oh, Malaysia. I'm sorry?
First.
One more time. What grade? 10th. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes,
What are you saying? That's in 6th grade, and you guys are probably the tutors. Well, I'm Yaeng. I like Knitsen. I went to UCLA. I studied biochemistry, and now I actually work for Bay Healthcare as a business process analyst. So let's see. I will start off by kind of just giving a little background about myself. I actually did not grow up or was born in America. I was actually born in Laos. Do you guys know where Laos is? You should know. Yeah? Where's Laos? Is it right next to what country? Next to Thailand. Yeah, they're neighbors, right? So the culture is very similar. So that's so Knit, I actually met Knit through a tutorial program just like this. I grew up there, and then like most people, like their families, you know, they leave because our parents want actually a better life for us, right? And then America, everyone knows it, especially when you're Asian. Everyone thinks of America as this land of opportunity, as a land of education, and all these, you know, all these dreams that people kind of reach for. So my family left Laos when I was about 5 years old. So you know, I was pretty much a baby. I don't really have much memories. So we came, and then we actually landed in Texas because that's where our sponsors were. We didn't know anyone, you know. My parents didn't speak any English, so it was very difficult. So early on, you know, being a kid, I mean, it's tough being a kid already, but when you're a kid and you have to go to school and you learn a new language, you also have to help out your parents along the way, right? So I'm sure some of you guys can relate to that. Yeah?
Yeah. Does anybody here help out their parents at home? Ah, good job, Charlie.
Yeah. And you're only in 2nd grade. That's great. So then from there we moved to California because we had some family from California. And once again, you know, I had to readapt to the environment. And then at the same time, my parents were also trying to find work so they could support us. So that made it even more difficult going to school because going to school when I was younger, being first generation immigrants, I actually had to, you know, study on my own. I had to push myself. And I didn't have like what you guys have today, tutorial programs where you guys can kind of relate to people that have kind of similar backgrounds. You know, you have Knit who has all this experience and all, you know, he had some guidance that he could probably provide for you. But growing up, I actually didn't have that. I had to kind of learn that on my own, and my parents did their best to kind of, you know, help me when I can. But when it came to homework, you guys are lucky because you guys have the tutorial program where there's someone to kind of, you know, go through the work with you and whatnot. And so from there, you know, I was in California. Once again, I moved a lot. So it was really hard to kind of really get comfortable. But when we finally moved to Richmond, California, I went to elementary school there, I went to junior high there, and in junior high and high school, that's when I really started learning about, you know, math and science, and that I started, you know, having affinity for it. I really liked it because it was challenging. So that's one of the things I like. I like things because it's, you know, it kind of makes me put in the extra, like, study time, and it challenges me. So the more I'm challenged, the more interested I want to, you know, prove to myself that I can learn something even though I don't have the extra help at home. So then from high school, being kids is really hard, right? Because you have friends who are very influential. I had friends who weren't so focused on school. and I actually made the decision to actually go to a different school. I didn't go to a standard public high school. I went to a smaller high school where the classrooms were a little smaller, where it was actually on a community college campus. So there, I mean, for some high schools, I'm sure your high school, there's bells and there's, floor, I don't know what they're called, the people that actually monitor the
Hall monitor?
The hall monitors that make sure you go to class, right? But because we were actually on a community college campus, there was none of that, right? So if you go to class, no one knows if you actually go to the college or rather you're in high school. So people just kind of leave you alone. So I had to learn really early on some responsibilities and discipline.
So how did you even decide to, or how did you even learn that you could choose another school?
I had that. Luckily, the school actually came to visit. They came to visit and they gave the background information on their schools and what they're about. The school actually started for kids who attended that school because they were troubled, right? Because they were like, they didn't focus well or they didn't have any discipline, so they were always getting into trouble, right? But as the school developed and years passed by, they actually learned that these students who maybe were considered troubled weren't really troubled at all. They just needed more like hands-on or like more one-on-one kind of small classroom. They needed more attention to kind of like, so that people could kind of pull out the talents that they have, right? But sometimes, even though you're very talented, some people are very shy and they don't know how to express, especially when we're young, because there's so much going on. We have to learn how to, we have to learn responsibilities, and then at the same time we go to school and we have so many topics that we have to study. And then at the same time we're kids, so we want to have fun, right? We always want to have, when we're young, we want to have fun. We want to spend time with our friends, and sometimes school is not the first priority. And that's where your parents come in. Your parents, they definitely, especially for my situation, I made the decision to go to school because I wanted that extra attention. I wanted someone to push me. And I did that because I've understood growing up the sacrifices that my family had made for me. Even though my mother, she wasn't always there to help me with my homework, she always encouraged me to do my best, right? And she always reminded me, it's like, it's very tough growing up when you don't have an education because work, it's harder to get work, it's harder to like network, and just it's harder in general. So they really emphasize education at an early age. And so that's the reason why, even though I wanted to hang out with my friends and I wanted to play sports and go to like prom and whatnot that other schools are more focused on, I decided to go to a school that was more geared towards academics because I knew that there I would be able to focus more. I realized that when I go to school, I'm there to learn, and then when I'm at home or my weekends, that's when I have fun, right? Because there's always a time and a place for everything. And school, we have to learn how to balance how much do we spend, really talking to our friends, and or how much do we actually sit in class and listen to our teacher and try to, kind of absorb as much as our teacher gives me. So after high school, I made the decision to go to UCLA because, like a lot of kids, you kind of want to get away from your parents, right? I wanted to go somewhere where it wasn't too far, but yet it was close enough that I could come home and see my parents on the weekends if I needed to. And at UCLA, it exposed me to a wide range of things. There's different people from different backgrounds, whether it be social, economic, but when you're in school and it's so diverse, all that stuff kind of goes out the window. We're all there kind of for a main purpose.
So I have a question. So when you entered UCLA, did you already know what you wanted to major in or what you want to do for a living?
Like most Asian parents, they emphasize, rather you be a doctor or a lawyer. And because I like math and science, I thought at the time entering college, I did want to do pre-med, right? I didn't know why I wanted to do pre-med. I wanted to do pre-med because my parents wanted me to do pre-med, and a lot of other adults and other people said it's the thing to do, right? So I was like, okay, I don't really know what I want to do, so I'm gonna go ahead and try it out because it seems like a thing to do. So I went ahead and started taking all these science classes, and I enjoyed them. I enjoyed them, but then at the same time, because while I was in college, we have opportunities where we join a lot of clubs and then we do a lot of volunteer work. And I realized that I like science, but I also like to kind of resolve problems. I like to work with other people. I like a lot of people interaction. So from there, I stayed with science. But after I graduated, I graduated with science. I actually wanted to do nonprofit work. I wanted to work with kids like you guys, because from my experience, I feel that the earlier you get to the kids, the sooner they will stay on path. Because I think kids, I'm not kidding, I'm sorry. You guys are so bright, our brains are still in development. So you guys are capable of absorbing so much. And I wanted to make sure that the students who were talented, the students who were bright, they just needed this little push. I wanted to, kind of work with that. But, when you're in doubt, and even though there are things that you want to do, it was tough for me to find work in like nonprofit, working with, underadvantaged students. So from there, I had a friend who was working for Bayer Healthcare. She worked in a lab, and so since I had the science background, she referred me, and then I did get hired on. I did lab work as a biotechnician for about 3 years, and I enjoyed it. The product that we make on our site in Berkeley, it's called Cogenet FS, and it's actually a drug. It's an injection that hemophiliacs. Do you guys know what hemophiliacs are? Yeah? What's the hemophiliac? Well, hemophiliacs are basically a disorder. They have a hemophilia disorder, and basically they're missing a factor. It's a factor 8. That's what they're missing. That kind of helps coagulate their blood, meaning like stop their blood from bleeding. Right? Once you get a little cut, because we have the factor 8. Most people have factor 8 in their system. You'll eventually, your blood starts, coagulating or kind of getting thick, and then after that dries up and you stop bleeding, right? But for hemophiliacs, if they don't have the injection and they don't take the injection bi-weekly, they could bleed to death, whether it's the smallest or the biggest cut. So that's the drug that we make. So that's the reason why that was kind of like my reward for working in the lab. But then I found that the lab kind of got a little routine for me. So I was lucky enough to actually get on a project. The project that I got on was, we were introducing, so everything today, most companies, everything that we do, we record on paper, right? But the future, because we want to, be more eco-friendly, we kind of want to make things more electronic. So then we are implementing an electronic batch record system. So I was able to work with the project, and I developed these documents. I converted them from paper to electronic, and I did that for about a year. That was, it was fun. It was a new skill, and I didn't think I was capable of it because my background was science, and all of a sudden I found myself in kind of like an IT field almost, right? But I liked it because it kind of, when we implemented the project, there's a sustainment, maintaining of this, right? Because you have to train people, and even though they have the training, mistakes are happening because they're learning a new system. So that's when they call me and they say, hey, I have a problem, my document is stuck. And I have to basically assess the problem, and after that propose some solutions so that they can move forward. And then if there's any kind of revisions or changes to the documents that they need, I also did that too. I did that for about a year, and then another opportunity came up, which is my current position as a business process analyst. So a business process analyst is a little combination of what I did in the lab and what I did as a document developer. It has a good combination. It has a good balance, because what I do now, I describe it as like I'm a bridge between the end users, the business, the people who use the IT systems, and so then people who use the IT system, they don't care how it works. They don't care how it got there. They just want it to work because they want to be able to do their day-to-day activities in the lab. So when we, every time there's a new project relating to IT, I work with the guys in the lab to make sure that what their needs, what we call user requirements, or reflected into the developments of these new systems. And that still part of that is, there's training involved, which allows me to have the people interaction that I like. It has troubleshooting where, there's problems, people call me and I assess it. So that's another thing that drew me to the decision. And it's also the fact that now, instead of just working in one lab, I get to work with everyone on our site. From rather it be QC, QA, quality control, quality assurance, engineering, or just the manufacturing labs. So now I've really realized that I found something that, even though I never thought I would ever get to this point of being in a career where I'm working with IT, because I always thought pre-med or law was something that I wanted to do, because that's what was embedded in me at a really early age. I realized that I enjoy it and I like it, and my parents, even though I'm not a doctor or lawyer, they're okay with that, because as long as I have a career that I enjoy and then that I'm independent, that I pay for my own bills, I have my own house, they really can't say much, right? Our parents, at least my parents, even though they wanted me to be a lawyer or a doctor, it's kind of the same as me. That's kind of what they knew, or that's what kind of their peers told them about. But as we get older and we learn, our parents teach us, and at the same time we're teaching them. So now, my mom, all she cares about is, am I eating well? Am I saving money? Is my job treating me well? And though if my answers are yes, then they're pretty happy. It took a long time to get here, but I think, like maybe Knit and other college students can tell you after graduation, half the stuff that we learn in college, we use maybe like 25% of it, because a lot of skills you develop is really on the job skills. And it's good to have that foundation, the college education, because without that, it's going to be that much harder for you to learn, when you're on the job, rather it be what you study in college or not. It's because you have that basic foundation of all these different topics and all these different skills that college, gives you. You'll be able to adapt to any situation or any, environment, as long as you know the basic science, the basic math, the basic English. And what I encourage you guys is, learn and try all that new stuff, all that topic. If you like art, explore art. If you like music, explore music. If you like science, explore science. And you'll learn that you're gonna like a little bit of everything. And there's opportunities in every field as long as you guys, really focus. So. Yes.
Okay, so does anybody have questions for Yaeng?
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about work ethic when you were in school, say, and then kind of relate that back to your colleagues and peers, say when you were in 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, and then did all of your peers go to college, and did they all finish college? And do you have peers that didn't go to college, and what are you doing now? Do you guys get together? Do you guys reminisce about?
Yeah, we all went different. We all definitely went different routes. I have friends that I've had since elementary school. Some of us went straight into 4-year institution. Some of us did not do college. Some of us went to JC did junior college for 2 to 3 years before going to a 4-year university. Depending on how ready you are. I think that's really depends on the person you are and how ready you are, because I definitely, I went to a 4-year college right away, because for me, I thought that's the route that I knew, because I didn't really have that I didn't have someone guide me along the way. It's okay, because I have a couple of friends, they went to JC college, they did, because they weren't really sure. I have 2 actually that after college they transferred to UC Berkeley, and now they're lawyers. I have friends who did just biotech programs. Like I have a couple of friends who I actually work with. They did a biotech certification program through Aloni, which is pretty close to here. So they went there. And Aloni, they have a couple of different programs. It'd rather be 6 months or 2 years. So it depends on what you like. But it's about, like I said, it's about balance. It's about balance of, you have to, you can't there's no way for you to succeed if you don't give that time to study. No matter, unless you're super genius, which I don't think many of us are, but we're all bright, but at the same time we have to put in work and we have to put in time. And if that skill doesn't just go for school, because when you're at work, that's the same thing. Once you finish school and you go to work, you still have balance, because I go to school, I still try to have my social life on the weekend, but I'm also continuing my education. I'm actually doing a certification for supply chain management, which is kind of just so that I could continue. I want to make sure that my skill sets are very broad, so that let's say I get tired of doing what I am doing today, I will have this other kind of path to go to. So good learning it's never ending. It's never ending at all. But it's all about discipline. It's all about dedication. It's all about focus. But and you definitely work with the counselors. There's a lot of resources out there. I mean, rather it be counseling, rather it be like this tutorial program, which is great. There's and then don't let. I think a lot of us a lot of people say they tend to not think of college because I can't afford college, but really I learned a little later, but there's so many scholarships out there. There's so many people who's actually willing to give you money, right? We just have to, like I said, it has to be the dedication. You have to do a little work and kind of look for these scholarships. But once you find these scholarships and you apply, you'll be surprised how many people are willing and who wants to kind of support youths into getting an education. And so I definitely encourage that too. I mean, it's never too early to look for that stuff. I mean, if you have the time now, I mean, especially work with your parents. You could kind of get the background now. So if there is a scholarship that you're interested in, and there's some requirements that they're looking for, and you have the time for it, you kind of could build that into your resume. Because even though we're students, it's the resume that we have. We build along the way, little skills. Everything adds up. The more diverse we are, the more marketable we are, right? You don't want to just focus on that one thing. Like I said, learn a lot of different topics, learn a lot of different subjects. A little bit of everything kind of helps you in your final decision, or your final subject or the major you guys decide to go in. Everything will help. Nothing is a waste. I don't think anything is a waste when it comes to learning,
So, other than the fear of your parents, I mean, what was your motivation that kept your nose to the grindstone?
I'm sorry? My motivation and...
What was the motivation that kept your nose to the grindstone so that you keep at doing what you were doing?
My motivation is,
Other than fear of your parents.
Yeah, definitely your parents, but because, I think it also depends on yourself, right? I mean, growing up, where I grew up, it was definitely not the greatest neighborhood, right?
Did you have a goal for yourself? Like something that you want to do for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, the goal I have is really to get out of that, to not be dependent on anyone, to make sure that I'm able to move out of a location where I could have a home that I could call my own, right? I just bought my house. That was a big goal, because my parents, they never owned a home, and it was difficult, at the space that we had. I want to make sure that I could afford my own car. I mean, I don't want like $100,000 car, but I want to be able to say I bought my own car because I worked hard, right? Those are goals that I wanted to, because growing up, you see these things that you may not have, so that was another motivation. I wanted to make sure that I could get these things and earn it myself. I mean, but that's because of my parents instilling me these kind of mindsets and whatnot. But that started from my parents. But for a person myself, I wanted to be a better person. So that was my motivation, right? I wanted to be able to just take care of myself, and I mean, I like learning. I mean, I think that's another thing too. Like I said, I'm the type that I like challenges. I don't like to do something that is kind of too routine. I like to continue learning and continue being challenged. And that's kind of my motivation why I'm still going to school today. I mean, I don't need to go to school, but for myself, because I enjoy, because that's just something that I enjoy doing.
So you were saying that you grew up in a poor neighborhood. Can you kind of describe?
Oh yeah,
Like
so
a few sentences?
yeah, I grew up in Richmond, California. If you guys aren't familiar with Richmond, California, you know the it's pretty much what maybe people would call to as projects, right? Because my parents were not well off. We were very few of Asians in that complex. It was a big complex, but it's you know there are gangbangers, there are drug dealers. You know there were some days it was kind of scary because there would be a shooting, you know, a couple doors down, right? So that was also that's a motivation for ourselves is to make sure I could get my family out of that environment, because I don't want to go to sleep being afraid. I don't want to think that, oh, one day I'm gonna come home and all the things my parents worked for are out of, has been stolen, because that happened pretty often too. So those were we walked to school. The school that I went to, I walked to school when to and from school. My parents would have to walk to school. My mom didn't work when we were younger because she had to walk us to school and make sure she picked us up and make sure she fed us and whatnot. She even, but there's a lot of things that our parents done. My parents, even though my mom didn't work, she actually made sweets, and she actually sold that at the stores, like the Asian stores, the small Asian stores that we had. It wasn't a lot, but it was just for her something that she felt that she could contribute to the family without just raising the kids, right? I think everywhere you go, even in Fremont, there's some areas here that are pretty bad in Fremont, right? I'm lucky now that I'm not in the same place. I still consider Richmond, but it's not that part of Richmond that I grew up in. It's actually kind of a better area, where, the neighbors have nice lawns, everyone's friendly. So those are things that motivated me, because I wanted to get out of that environment and make sure that, we have a roof over our head, we have enough to eat, and that I don't want to worry about someone breaking in my house or a shooting going on or someone selling drugs in front of my house, right? Those were additional motivations that I had for pursuing a higher education. You guys have any questions? I'm sure you guys do. I know you do. Go ahead, don't be shy. Huh?
I think he's gonna sneeze.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought you had a question.
So I actually have two questions for
Okay.
you. So first question, so for all the jobs that you've had or career changes you've had, did you even know those existed?
No. Yeah, I did not know. I knew about labs, right? But there's so many different types of labs. My idea of a lab was the only lab that I thought of was the type of lab that we had in college, where you mix different bases and acids and chemicals together, and you come out with a final product, right? But for the lab that I worked in, because technology has been so advanced now, we really more like, I felt like I was babysitting, right? Because I worked in fermentation, so it was still a little bit of science, because we were growing cells in what we call fermenters, and the science part of it was we had to make sure that the cells were happy to grow. The pH level, the oxygen level, other gas levels that they needed, right? Because if we don't get a good balance, which science and chemistry is, these cells wouldn't be able to live in the environment they're living in the fermenters. From there, I never knew, they actually created my second position that I had at Bayer. It was a brand new position that they created as the outcome of the project that I was part of. They realized that this can't be just a project. After this project rolls out, someone has to maintain it, someone has to sustain all this data. And so that's actually, they created that position. And from there, as a business analyst, I've heard of it, but at our site in Bayer, a lot of people still aren't aware of it. Other industries, they do it, but they have business analysts, but they kind of, depending on the need of the company, the roles are a little different. So.
Okay, so my second question is that, so it seems like you finally found something so you said earlier that before you really enjoyed problem solving and right, and being challenged, right? It seems like the career you have now finally fits all that stuff that you're looking for way back then in high school, right?
Yeah.
So do you have any advice for these kids here who might not be sure what they want to do in the future, or how they would go about even figuring out what they want to do?
The only advice I have is try, right? I mean, you right now as junior high and high school, we have different electives that we could actually explore. There's the standard subjects that we have to take, right? But the opportunities you have to try new things, rather, like I said earlier, rather it be art or music like that, and if you're interested in it, explore it. And I'm sure there's a lot of schools, there's after school programs and whatnot, right? So if there's anything, I suggest that if you have a little inch of interest in any topic or any subject, definitely explore it, right? Because you'll never know if you're gonna like something until you try it. Never, like they say, never judge a book by its cover. The same thing when it comes to learning. Don't do something because someone likes it. Don't say, oh, this person likes it so much, maybe I should do it. If someone's doing woodwork and you like, oh, that's kind of cool, and then you have a chance to take that elective to do woodshop work, then do it. I mean, and if you don't like it, then move on to something else, right? But don't get frustrated because, like I said, even though I thought I was pre-med, after I went to college, what I'm doing today is totally different from pre-med. But I enjoy it. I mean, and it's because I was open. I think it's because I was open to it. Be open to learning new things. That's what I totally recommend, is be open to it. I mean, there's the basic that you don't have to be a lawyer, you don't have to be a doctor, but if you want to, that's also great too. Definitely pursue that. Don't let your friends, encourage you. Everyone's different. All my friends, not all of them do what I do. I like when we get together and they tell me about what they do, I tell them about what we do, and it's fun. We're learning from each other, and I like that about it. I like the fact that not everyone's the same, and so I encourage you guys to be open and try new things, and don't get frustrated if you don't find something you like right away. Like me, it took me 5 years after college to actually get into the position that I am right now and actually enjoy what I do.
So how important was it for you to go to college, to be where you are today? If you hadn't gone to college, would you have been here today?
I think that there are certain having a college degree definitely helps, right? Depending on what field, in my specific field, yes, they do require a college education, right? Would I have had the opportunity? Maybe I wouldn't have gotten this job when I applied if I didn't have a college education. So it definitely is really, really critical that we have a college education. How we apply it, we'll learn as we go. But having that, I mean, it never hurts, right? It's good to be prepared. That's how I see it. Even though I'm not using my specific degree, it's good to have that, because if you're going for a job and it's really comes down to what's going to make me different from that other person, and it's tough because they won't come out and say it, but if you have no education versus someone who has education, I'm pretty sure that they're gonna give you that opportunity. So I think it's very important that you have a college education.
Okay, any last questions or comments? No? In that case, can we please give our speaker a round of applause, please? Thank you.